I have to wear a mask, 'cause this movie pretty stinks. It stinks really bad. It's so stinky, I, I have to keep this on. No, just kidding. So, anyway, we're back to Batman week, and now we're down to the stinker, Batman and Robin. So, again, a little backstory on the movie. They they wanted to do Mr. Freeze, but Tim Burton is not in the picture anymore. He is pretty much, he's not even producer, and I think he's like Batman Forever. I'm pretty sure probably would have been as bad as Batman and Robin, but Tim Burton was producer and he probably had some say so he's like, you know what, just change a few things here. That's all I'm gonna. He probably gave them like a few pointers, and that's probably what stopped the movie from, being from. It's actually not bad to from. It probably sucked at first, and then Tim Burton's like, here's a few pointers, and it's not bad. But Tim Burton's not even a little bit involved with this movie, and this movie is really bad. I mean, what makes it really bad is, number one, the story is really cliched. Like, all the Batman movies, except I could see maybe Batman Forever being a little cliched, but it wasn't the story that. The story was one of the weak points of that movie, but it was I like some of the acting. Of course, there's some really bad acting, but again, watch my Batman Forever review. You'll understand what I liked. But this one, the story's really cliched. It's just a villain of the week trying to take over the world. You get a sleazy female sidekick and an over-the-top pun spewing Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then you get George Clooney as Batman. Now, Val Kilmer probably made a better Batman. Val Kilmer actually made a not bad Batman. I mean, granted, I think he was no Michael Keaton, but he pulled it with. He worked hard for what they were given. He tried to bring something to it. George Clooney doesn't bring nothing. He just acts like George Clooney. You gotta get in character, George Clooney. I mean, granted, George Clooney has done some pretty good movies, but this is not one of them. I was watching the Golden Globes and Amy Poehler after George Clooney got the Cecil B. DeMille Award, and they showed like a reel of all his movies. They're like, don't forget it, people. This is Batman and Robin. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, George Clooney played. I mean, it wasn't that. Okay, he was bad, but what made it bad is he didn't try to do anything with the material. And granted, there's not much because the story doesn't really give him any character except for he cares about. He treats Robin like a parent, and he treats Alfred like a father. No, I mean, he treats Robin like a son, and he treats Alfred like a father. That's all to his character. He just acts like George Clooney. It feels like he's like just George Clooney in an interview. I mean, I get, don't act, react, but you gotta react it in a character that suits the character. Like, George Clooney being George Clooney doesn't act like Batman. Granted, it could act like Bruce Wayne, because, George Clooney's, the typical A-list good-looking actor, and, that's actually a Bruce Wayne type. And he's not a bad Bruce Wayne. I mean, he's actually probably fits the Bruce Wayne character more than Val Kilmer, but he doesn't bring anything to the role. At least Val Kilmer tried to brought something. He brought, this detective mode that really, this detective mode to Batman, and Michael Keaton brought a mysterious, sarcastic, but accepting personality to his role as Batman. And I don't want to say sarcastic. What's the word, like mischievous? mischievous, accepting, um, like he has kind of like a no nonsense personality to Batman. I guess you could say like he brings a seriousness to Batman. He brought his seriousness, his mischievous. I mean, not mystery. I keep saying mischievous, mystery to Batman. Michael Keaton brought a mystery to Batman. Kevin Conroy brought this pain that you get from Batman. He brought this weight in his motivation, and he brought you could tell he had the weight of his past and the way his voice, voice acting. George Clooney is just George Clooney. Then we get Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. Terrible performance, terrible, and I'll tell you why. Again, nothing to the role. She's just sassy. She's just a sassy person that gets this power and is obsessed with plants. There's no backstory. There's no interesting motivation to the character. I mean, it is, I guess, loving plants, but why do you love plants? There's no interesting motivation to this character. She just acts sassy. That's it. Nothing to the character. Terrible writing. Robin, he doesn't like to be in the shadow of Batman. That's it. And at the end, he overcomes working together with Batman. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, granted, is probably the most entertaining aspect of this movie. But again, the biggest problem with this is they don't bring any character to it. It's just, again, Arnold Schwarzenegger acting like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Again, what makes it, his puns are kind of funny. And I guess, there is some interesting backstory to him. He once had a wife. He once was happy, and then his wife got sick, and one of his, sciences went horribly wrong, and thus becoming Mr. Freeze. It's a little interesting, but it's not like adds anything to the character. I don't know why he has enough money to make a freeze. Okay, his main goal, he wants to freeze the world unless Gotham. Well, he gets two goals. Number one, in the first 3/4 of the movie, he wants to hold Gotham hostage so he can get enough money to make his wife feel better, because his wife is frozen in a coma state, and she, is in this water thing, because she has some sickness we don't know. They say it, but I don't think it's even a real sickness. Apparently, coincidentally, Alfred has it, only on a small, stage 1 of it. Coincidentally, Alfred has stage 1 of it. But he needs money to cure his wife. He needs, billions of... Okay, how does he get... Okay, how does he pay his henchmen? How does he get enough money to work his free suit? Granted, he could steal, but why doesn't he just steal the money? He has the technology to fix his wife. Why does he need to hold Gotham hostage? Apparently he has enough money to get a free suit, and apparently he has enough money to pay his electricity bill. He has enough money to pay his henchmen. Well, this is just really lazy writing. Really lazy. And at the end, he thinks his wife is dead, so he wants to freeze Gotham and take over the world. Poison Ivy wants to take over the world with plants. Of course, they get stopped. Mr. Freeze gets stopped, sent to jail. He finds out that his wife is actually saved. She almost died because Poison Ivy unplugged her water thingy, and Mr. Freeze wants to make Poison Ivy's life a living hell because of what she did to his wife. It's just not interesting at all. Okay? First of all, why I don't get, Mr. Freeze he needs money. If he looks like he has a lot of money, okay? Um if if it is stolen money, why couldn't he just steal that much money? Okay? Secondly, it's just at the end he just becomes this cliched villain. He helps Alfred. Woohoo. The main conflict of the movie, besides Freeze taking over the world, Alfred is sick. Really? Alfred is supposed to be a character in the background. He's supposed to be a supporting character. He's not supposed to be the bearer of conflict. Supporting characters aren't supposed to be the bearer of conflict. I could see maybe the romance being that, or maybe Robin, but he's just, he's not a main character, he's a supporting character. Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and all of them are main characters. He's just, there. And Alfred's supposed to be, just Batman's butler and father, I guess you could say father figure. But it's just like, really? They're like, we need a conflict for the movie, but our minds don't think of anything interesting to do with Batman. Why don't we just use the butler instead? Because Batman's just too much work on the brain. We just need to sell toys to make money. This movie, you know what it feels like? A 2-hour toy commercial. But it's just, they say like puns. Like, I think one time they said that, like, Bat credit card. It felt like, a commercial. And I know one scene was like, it felt like a NyQuil commercial, and Mr. Freeze gave Batman his glowing water thing to help Alfred. It just feels like a TV ad, a 2-hour TV ad. And even Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin, said it feels like that. Okay, is there anything positive about the movie? Well, it's not a cheap-looking movie. I mean, granted the CGI is terrible, but the sets are actually really good. You could tell they spent a lot of money on this movie. It's probably the most expensive Batman movie by the looks of it. It's just got so much stuff. It just it doesn't have an interesting style to it, but it feels like a ride at Six Flags, like all the sets. Like, you could tell they spent some money on the sets. Like, it's big, it's like bright, and you could tell, they did spend a lot of money on the set, so at least there was some effort into making a cool set, like the museum and the telescope area, and a lot of it, the Poison Ivy area with all the vines. At least in the Batcave, at least they stuck some effort into the set. So I guess, kudos to the set designers. At least you were taking your job somewhat seriously. And even Joel Schumacher's like, I'm sorry, I apologize for Batman and Robin. And again, I don't blame Joel Schumacher. I blame Warner Brothers for wanting to go this route because they just wanted to make money. They wanted to dumb it down for audiences. And I'm glad this didn't do good at the box office because they had another script in works called Batman Triumphant. And, it did sound interesting. I mean, they were going to get Jack Nicholson back as the Joker because the villain of the movie was the Scarecrow who, through his toxins, make Batman hallucinate. And he sees the Joker, and Jack Nicholson was supposed to make a cameo appearance. And it was supposed to have Harley Quinn, supposed to be the Joker's daughter, which in the comics is not. Harley Quinn is the Joker's girlfriend, but Harley Quinn was supposed to be the Joker's daughter, and played by Madonna. And Nicolas Cage was supposed to be I heard it was like either Nicolas Cage, Howard Stern, or Steve Buscemi, who was supposed to be the Scarecrow. And George Clooney was supposed to reprise his role as Batman. Alicia Silverstone. It was supposed to be, Batman Triumphant. It was supposed to be like the final torch for Batman because he was supposed to like retire in the script. I don't know. But it got canned because Batman and Robin, Batman and Robin didn't do terrible at the box office. It was probably the lowest grossing Batman live act. It was probably the third lowest grossing Batman movie next to the animated series movie. No, probably next to the Adam West TV show and Batman Mask of the Phantasm. It's hard to believe that something like this would make more money than Batman Mask of the Phantasm. But anyway, I already said that. So yeah, it's the third lowest grossing Batman movie, and they canned it, which is cool. I'm glad they they rebooted it, and it turns out great. Which is my next review, is Batman Begins. So, it's just it's not just the worst Batman movie. It's probably one of the worst movies ever made. So, I give it a 30% out of 100. A half a star out of 4 stars. The sets did look good. You could tell they spent a lot of money on the sets, and they actually had some interesting design to them. So, kudos to the set designer. But Joel Schumacher. I don't blame Joel Schumacher. I blame Warner Brothers. He was just doing his job as a director. Like he was just like a robot, like a puppet, like going through the emotions on directing the movie. The movie was really strange and again really campy. But what made this Batman and the Joel Schumacher Batmans and the Adam West Batman are very campy. But what makes the Adam West Batman good is it's campy but charming. This Batman's campy and strange. It's not charming at all. Adam West, he tries to bring, again, more of a detective cop aspect to Batman, similar to Val Kilmer, and he also brings like he was funny. He brings comedic relief to Batman. George Clooney didn't even bring comedic relief to it. It's just George Clooney. At least the Adam West, it was funny. It had some really memorable moments, and Batman again, he had the detective style that Val Kilmer probably. Val Kilmer's Batman seems very similar to Kevin Conroy and all them, but okay, sorry, but yeah, that's my review on. Sorry, that was my grandmother. That's my review on Batman and Robin. It's a good set movie, but nothing more. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. I don't recommend it. There's like no effort into the script or acting, no effort into the characters. This movie, just no effort. No effort at all. So, at least, we gonna go on to the Christopher Nolan movies, so we're done with the Burton Schumacher movies. Yay. It started out great, but it ended in a pile of poop. So that's my review of Batman and Robin. I'm sorry I didn't have anything. Well, I did have one positive thing, but I'm sorry it wasn't a more positive review. But sometimes you gotta have, negative reviews if you don't have if you don't have a positive reaction to a movie. And this was one of those movies where you have more negative than positive, a lot more. So yeah, half a star out of 4, 35% out of 100 F. Good while it lasted, but ended in a pile of poop. So thank you for watching my review. God bless ya, and stay tuned for Batman Begins, Christopher Nolan.